I want to tell you something that happened to me at the grocery store a few weeks ago. I was standing in the peanut butter aisle, which, if you haven't noticed, has gotten absolutely massive, and I realized I had no idea what I was actually buying. I just kept grabbing the same jar out of habit. Same brand, same shelf, same price, except the price wasn't the same anymore. It had gone up. Again. So I did something I probably should have done years ago. I bought 10 different jars. I read every label. I checked every price per ounce. I looked up where the ingredients actually come from, what the oil situation is, what the sugar content means for your health, and whether the natural label on half of these things means anything at all. And what I found genuinely surprised me. Some of these brands that millions of Americans buy every single week are not giving you what you think you're paying for. Some of the expensive ones are not better. Some of the cheap ones are actually the smart buy. And one of the brands, we'll get to it around number 7, I had been buying for years, and when I saw what was actually in it, I felt like an idiot. You won't believe number 7. Before we get into all of it, if you're new here, subscribe right now. This is exactly the kind of video we make. No hype, no panic, just real information that helps you protect your money and feed your family better. Let's get into it. Peanut butter seems simple. 2 or 3 ingredients, right? Peanuts, maybe some salt, maybe some oil. But the reality of what's on store shelves in 2026 is a lot more complicated than that. And once you understand what separates a good jar from a bad one, you'll never buy without thinking again. Here are the 10 brands I compared and what I actually found. Item number 1, Jif Creamy. Let me start with the one most people grab without thinking. Jif is the best-selling peanut butter in America and has been for decades. And for a long time that felt justified. It tastes good. Kids love it. It's smooth. It spreads well. But here's what I noticed when I actually read the label this time. Jif Creamy contains fully hydrogenated vegetable oils and sugar. Not a little sugar. It's the 3rd ingredient in the classic formula. And the fully hydrogenated oil is added specifically to keep the peanut butter from separating, which sounds fine, but it also changes the fat profile in ways that most nutritionists consider unnecessary. You're paying for convenience and shelf stability, not peanut nutrition. The peanut content is actually lower than in true natural peanut butters, because other ingredients are taking up volume. I looked at the price per ounce at Walmart, and Jif comes in around 14 to 16 cents per ounce depending on the size. That's a reasonable price for what it is, but I want you to understand what you're actually buying when you buy it. I grew up on Jif. My mom bought it. I bought it. I never questioned it. But when I put it side by side with a jar that's just peanuts and salt, and I looked at what I was paying, I started asking myself why I was still reaching for it automatically. The practical takeaway here is not that Jif is terrible. It's that Jif is engineered for taste and shelf life, not nutrition. If you have kids who only eat this brand, it's not an emergency. But if you're buying it for yourself thinking it's a healthy protein source, you should know what's in it before you make that assumption. There are better options for the same money or less. We'll get there. Item number 2, Skippy Natural Creamy. Skippy has done something clever. They took their brand, put the word natural on a version of it, and charged more. And it worked. Millions of people buy Skippy Natural thinking they're upgrading from regular Skippy. Here's the thing. Skippy Natural Creamy still contains palm oil. That's the ingredient they use to replicate the smooth, non-separating texture of the original, and palm oil is the ingredient that most genuine natural peanut butter advocates say you should avoid because it adds unnecessary saturated fat and comes with real environmental concerns around sourcing. The sugar content in Skippy Natural is lower than the original Skippy, I'll give it that, but the natural label is doing a lot of marketing work that the ingredients don't fully back up. I checked Skippy Natural at 3 different stores. At Target it was running about 17 cents per ounce. That's more expensive than Jif and more expensive than several actually natural options I found. When I looked this up, I found that natural on a food label in the United States doesn't have a strict FDA definition for peanut butter. It's essentially a marketing term. Companies can use it without meeting any specific standard beyond removing artificial flavors or colors. My practical advice here is to flip the jar around and read the ingredients before you pay a premium for the word natural. If the ingredients list includes palm oil, you are not getting what the front of the label is implying. You're paying more for a label, not more for a better product. Item number 3. Peter Pan. Creamy Original. Peter Pan is the brand people forget about. It used to be one of the top 3 in America. It's still widely available, and it's almost always the cheapest conventional option on the shelf. The ingredients are similar to Jif: peanuts, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, salt. Nothing shockingly different. The taste is a little blander, a little less sweet than Jif. Some people actually prefer that. Kids tend to prefer Jif, but adults who don't want the sweetness sometimes go for Peter Pan. What I want to flag here is that Peter Pan has faced some brand trust issues over the years. There was a significant contamination recall that older consumers might remember, and the brand has never quite recovered its dominant position. It's now owned by Post Holdings, and shelf space is shrinking in many major retailers. I noticed at my local Walmart that Peter Pan was down to 1 or 2 SKUs, where it used to have an entire section. That's not an accident. Retailers reduce shelf space when sales are declining, and this brand has been losing market share steadily. If you're buying Peter Pan because it's cheap, I understand. But given where this brand is heading, I'd put that same money towards store brand peanut butter, which often costs the same or less, and is made in the same types of facilities with the same types of ingredients. I'll get to store brands later in this list. They might surprise you. Item number 4. Justin's Classic Peanut Butter. Now we move into the premium tier, and this is where it gets interesting. Justin's is the brand you see at Whole Foods, Target, and increasingly at mainstream grocery stores. It markets itself on being made from dry roasted peanuts and palm oil, which, yes, palm oil again. But the positioning is health forward, the packaging is beautiful, and the price is significantly higher. I was looking at around 28 to 32 cents per ounce depending on the retailer. The ingredient list is short: dry roasted peanuts, palm oil, and sometimes a touch of salt. That's it. No sugar. And the flavor is genuinely good. It's nuttier, richer, and less sweet than Jif or Skippy. But here's my honest take. You are paying double or more for a product that is not dramatically better than a 2-ingredient natural peanut butter that costs half as much. The palm oil is there for the same reason it's in Skippy Natural: texture and shelf stability. You're still getting a peanut butter that doesn't require stirring, which is a convenience you're paying a significant premium for. I spoke to someone who buys for a small health food cafe, and they told me Justin's is essentially the aspirational brand. People buy it because of what it signals about their lifestyle, not because of a meaningful nutritional difference from cheaper natural options. If you love Justin's, that's fine. It is a good product. But if you're buying it because you believe it's the healthiest option available, I'd push back on that. The same money buys you more actual peanuts per ounce from less stylized brands. Item number 5. Smucker's Natural Peanut Butter. Okay, here's one I want to talk up for a second, because Smucker's Natural is one of the most underrated jars on the shelf. 2 ingredients: peanuts and salt. That's it. No palm oil, no sugar, no hydrogenated anything. It separates, yes, you have to stir it, but that's because it doesn't have additives preventing the natural oil from doing what it naturally does. The price is genuinely reasonable. I found it at Walmart for around 13 to 15 cents per ounce, which puts it in the same range as Jif, but with a dramatically cleaner label. The knock against it is always the stirring. People don't want to deal with the oil on top, but here's the trick I've been using for years. When you bring it home, flip the jar upside down before you open it, leave it for a day, then flip it right side up and open it. The oil redistributes. Stirring takes about 20 seconds. It's not a real obstacle. I genuinely think Smucker's Natural is one of the best value options in this entire category. It tastes like peanuts because it is just peanuts. The roast is good, the salt level is right, and you're not paying for packaging, marketing, or additives that you don't need. The practical takeaway here is straightforward. If you want a natural peanut butter without paying a premium, Smucker's Natural should be near the top of your list. It's not exciting. It doesn't have a cool brand story, but it delivers. Item number 6. Trader Joe's Creamy Salted Peanut Butter. If you have a Trader Joe's near you, I want to make sure this is on your radar. Trader Joe's house brand peanut butter, the creamy salted version, is 2 ingredients: dry roasted peanuts and salt. It separates. It's natural. And the price per ounce is one of the lowest I found in this entire comparison, usually around 11 to 13 cents per ounce, depending on the size. The flavor is excellent, genuinely excellent. It has a slightly deeper roast than Smucker's Natural, which some people prefer. It spreads well once stirred, and because it's a Trader Joe's store brand, you're not paying for a national advertising budget or fancy branding. Trader Joe's controls its own supply chain tightly, and its peanut butter has consistently scored well in independent taste comparisons. This is one of those quiet wins that people who shop there already know about, but if you've been avoiding it because it's not a name brand, you're leaving money on the table. My honest experience, I started buying this a couple of years ago, and I haven't gone back to the name brands. Same quality, cleaner label, lower price. That combination is hard to argue with. If you're near a Trader Joe's, this is my top recommendation for everyday use. Just remember to stir. Item number 7, Jif Natural Creamy. Here it is, the one I said you wouldn't believe. I want to be specific about this because there's an important distinction. I'm not talking about regular Jif. I'm talking about Jif Natural, the version with the green label that Jif specifically markets to health-conscious consumers, the one positioned as the better choice within the Jif family. Here's what Jif Natural Creamy contains. Peanuts, sugar, palm oil, contains 2% or less of salt, and molasses. Molasses, as in an added sweetener beyond sugar. The product markets itself as natural, with no artificial preservatives, and uses warm, earthy packaging that implies wholesomeness. But it still has palm oil, it still has added sugar, it still has an added sweetener on top of that sugar. The calorie count and sugar content are not meaningfully different from regular Jif. When I looked at the price, Jif Natural was running 2 to 4 cents per ounce more than regular Jif at most stores I checked. So you're paying more, getting a green label, and receiving a product that is nutritionally almost identical to the original, which already had ingredients most nutritionists would tell you to minimize. I had been buying Jif Natural on and off for years thinking I was making a smarter choice. When I finally put it side by side with regular Jif and read both labels carefully, the difference was almost nothing. I felt genuinely embarrassed that I had been paying a premium for that green label without ever actually comparing. The practical takeaway: if you're buying Jif Natural because you think it's a meaningfully healthier version of Jif, it's not. You're paying more for a label redesign. If you want something actually cleaner, spend the same money, or less, on Smucker's Natural or Trader Joe's. You'll get 2 ingredients instead of 5 and no added sugar at all. This one made me angry when I figured it out, and I think it'll make you angry too. Item number 8, Great Value Creamy Peanut Butter, Walmart store brand. Let's talk about the store brand situation because this is where the real value play lives for most American households. Walmart's Great Value Creamy Peanut Butter is one of the most purchased peanut butters in the country by volume, simply because Walmart is where most Americans shop, and the price is genuinely low, often around 9 to 11 cents per ounce for the larger sizes. The ingredients are similar to Jif: peanuts, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, and salt. Not a clean label, but also not pretending to be something it isn't. And the taste is broadly acceptable, a little less sweet than Jif, a little more peanut forward. Here's what I found interesting when I dug into this. Store brand peanut butter is almost always made by one of the major national brands or by the same co-manufacturers that supply national brands. The product is often nearly identical in terms of formulation. You are frequently buying the same product in a different jar. When I compared Great Value side by side with Jif in terms of texture, flavor, and spreadability, the difference was minimal. Not zero, but minimal. You'd have to be a serious peanut butter enthusiast to notice in a blind taste test. For families on a tight budget, Great Value is a completely reasonable choice. If you're already buying Jif because it's what you know, try Great Value once and see if your household notices the difference. Many don't, and the savings add up, especially if you're buying multiple jars a month. The practical takeaway here is that store brands in the conventional peanut butter category are genuinely competitive with name brands. Don't let the packaging difference talk you out of saving real money. Item number 9, Whole Foods 365 Creamy Peanut Butter. Amazon owns Whole Foods, and Whole Foods store brand 365 has become one of the most interesting value plays in the natural peanut butter space. 365 Creamy Peanut Butter is 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt, with no palm oil and no added sugar. It's completely natural in the truest sense of the term. And at Whole Foods, it's typically priced competitively within the natural category, usually around 14 to 16 cents per ounce. That price point puts it right alongside Jif, but with a dramatically cleaner ingredient list. What I find particularly interesting is the Amazon angle. If you have a Prime membership and you shop at Whole Foods regularly or use Amazon Fresh Delivery, the 365 brand often gets additional discounts. I've seen it go as low as 11 cents per ounce during promotions for Prime members. The flavor is good, slightly milder than Smucker's Natural, but clean and genuinely peanut forward. It separates, same as any oil-free natural peanut butter will. Same stirring situation we talked about. I think this is one of the more underrated options specifically because people assume Whole Foods means overpriced. In the natural peanut butter category, 365 is actually competitive. If you have access and you're already a Prime member, it's worth putting in your rotation. Item number 10, Crazy Richard's 100% Pure Peanut Butter. I want to end this list with the brand that genuinely impressed me most because I didn't know it well before I did this comparison. Crazy Richards is not a brand you'll find everywhere. It's available on Amazon, at some Costco locations, and at certain health food stores. One ingredient, peanuts. No salt even. Just peanuts, roasted and ground. That's it. The price point varies. On Amazon, I've seen it at around 13 to 15 cents per ounce for the larger sizes. Not the cheapest option on this list, but not expensive either. And what you're getting is essentially 100% peanut nutrition. Nothing added, nothing removed. The flavor takes a second to adjust to if you've been eating sweetened peanut butter your whole life. It's earthy, a little intense, very much what a peanut actually tastes like. Some people add a tiny pinch of salt themselves when they open a new jar, and that helps the flavor land. I looked into Crazy Richards and found that they've built a following specifically among people who want to use peanut butter as a genuine protein source rather than a spread with added sweeteners. Athletes, people doing higher protein diets, parents who want to control what goes into their kids' food. My honest experience with it, I went through a full jar, and by the end of the jar, I preferred it. That shift surprised me. Once my palate adjusted away from the sweetened versions, going back to Jif actually tasted too sweet. That was a weird moment. The practical takeaway is that Crazy Richards is the option for anyone who wants peanut butter to be just peanuts. It's not for everyone, especially if you have kids who are used to sweeter spreads. But if you're open to it, it's worth trying at least once. You might end up where I did. Here's the pattern I want you to see. We live in a world where peanut butter, one of the most basic, affordable foods in America, has been layered with marketing language, premium pricing, and ingredient complexity that often doesn't add value and sometimes actively misleads you. The brands that spend the most on advertising are not the brands with the cleanest labels. The labels that say natural don't have a legal requirement to mean anything specific. And the price difference between a highly marketed jar and a genuinely simple one can be significant over the course of a year. Think about it. If a family of 4 goes through a jar a week, that's 52 jars a year. The difference between paying 16 cents per ounce and 13 cents per ounce on a standard 16-ounce jar is about 48 cents a jar. That's almost $25 a year. And if you're also buying a natural premium brand, the difference can be twice that. $25 to $50 a year doesn't sound like a lot until you apply that same thinking across every category in your cart. Peanut butter, cooking oil, cereal, pasta sauce, cleaning products. It adds up to hundreds of dollars, and most people never notice because they're buying on autopilot. What I want you to take away from this is not that peanut butter is dangerous or that you're being poisoned. That's not the point. The point is that informed choices are always better than habit-based choices. When you know what's in the jar, you choose. When you don't, the marketing chooses for you. The brands making the most money are counting on you not reading the label. They're counting on your habit. They're counting on you grabbing the same jar because it's what you've always grabbed. You don't have to let them. The smart move is simple. Flip the jar around. Read the ingredients. Compare the price per ounce. Not the price on the sticker, but the unit price, which most stores now put on the shelf tag. And when you find a 2-ingredient version that fits your budget, try it for 1 jar. That's all it takes to break the habit. Most people will keep buying what they've always bought. They'll keep paying the premium for labels that don't deliver. They'll keep missing the quiet value that's sitting right next to the brand they've always known. You don't have to be most people. If this video helped you see your grocery cart a little differently, I want you to do one thing right now. Hit subscribe. Because this is exactly what we do here. We compare the things everyone buys, we read the labels most people skip, and we give you the honest breakdown so you can make smarter decisions. Next week, we're going into another staple that I think is going to surprise people just as much as peanut butter did. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but if you've been shopping in the bread or cereal aisle lately and you've noticed something feels off, you're not imagining it. Drop a comment below and tell me which peanut butter brand you've been buying and whether anything in this video is going to make you rethink it. I read every comment. I want to know. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and I'll see you in the next one.